Tonight, condemnation and concern around the world as North Korea claims it just conducted its most powerful nuclear test yet, moving toward its goal of developing a long-range nuclear warhead, perhaps capable of hitting the U.S. NBC's Bill Neely has details on the test and the swift reaction.
He's done it again. Kim Jong-un has carried out his second nuclear test in 8 months. This one the strongest ever, triggering a 5.3 earthquake, drawing global condemnation. There's anger at the UN.
I condemn in the strongest possible terms.
And fear in the US that he's edging towards a nuclear missile that can hit America.
Probably by the end of the first term of the person we're electing this November, they are going to have the ability to put nuclear warheads on missiles that can reach the west coast of the United States.
So how can the US respond? Directly attacking the underground nuclear sites is risky and unlikely. A cyber attack is an option. Tougher sanctions are possible too, but they didn't stop this test. More isolation? North Korea's already isolated. Only its ally China could really punish it more. But South Korea says it shows he's mentally out of control, struggling to keep control, executing dozens of his own generals.
The nuclear program is all about power and regime stability. And all indications with the purges that have happened over the past 2 years, the regime doesn't feel fully secure.
President Obama says there must be serious consequences for this test, but Kim Jong-un seems not to care, projecting power, provoking, and so far paying no price. Bill Neely, NBC News.
North Korea's latest nuclear test is testing the patience of the international community. Reaction today was swift and angry, with some already talking about the possibility of new sanctions. But until now, Pyongyang hasn't seemed to care about any of that. The CBC's Sasha Petrusik has the story.
North Korea celebrated its national holiday with cheers for its leader, Kim Jong-un, and with boasts about its fifth and most powerful nuclear test yet, one it says will allow it to build smaller and stronger warheads, which could eventually hit the United States. North Korea has been building and testing nuclear devices and the missiles to deliver them for more than a decade. Early this morning, seismic monitors detected a magnitude 5 earthquake in the region. Alarmed South Korean officials said the underground explosion that caused it was almost as powerful as the nuclear bomb dropped on Hiroshima. An emergency cabinet met in Seoul. This is an imminent threat to us, said South Korean President Park Geun-hye, questioning the North Korean leader's sanity. U.S. President Barack Obama said the U.S. would never accept North Korea as a nuclear state and would take all necessary measures to protect its allies in the region, though it was unclear exactly what it would do. Even China, North Korea's strongest ally, said it opposed the tests.
China has more leverages on the DPRKs.
Analysts like Cheng Xiaohui from Beijing's Renmin University say China may lose patience and cut back on the goods it still sells North Korea.
China's tolerance of DPRKs, bad behaviors, is limited. Don't push China too hard.
There's a lot to lose. China accounts for virtually all of North Korea's trade these days, but Pyongyang is betting that Beijing would rather have this regime in North Korea than the uncertainty that could follow. And so it remains defiant. Sasha Petrusik, CBC News, Beijing.
As Sasha mentioned, North Korea seems to have two goals, making the bomb smaller and stronger. With this fifth test, it seems to be achieving some success. North Korean test bombs have become more powerful. An estimated 1 kiloton explosion 10 years ago, then a steady rise to yesterday's approximately 10 kilotons. You can look at that two ways. First, compare with other tests. The U.S.'s first hydrogen bomb, not 10 kilotons, but over 10,000. Or a Soviet Union test, 50,000. But you could also compare not tests, but actual bombs, those used in 1945 against Japan. Hiroshima, about 15 kilotons. Nagasaki, about 20. Much closer in explosive power to yesterday's. Now consider, together, those U.S. bombs killed at least 150,000 people. As we showed you, concerned reaction from all around the world today, much of it focused on how to respond now. David Slynn has a lot to say about that. He was the first British ambassador to North Korea and is now at the University of Ottawa. So, David, we've long heard that North Korea ultimately wants to target the U.S. How afraid should North America be about being hit?
Not too afraid just yet. But as we have heard, it is a long-standing North Korean objective to have a capacity that can strike North America. And I think that is probably what they're working towards. But the real question is how much progress they're making. Certainly the tempo of their tests has increased, which suggests that some progress is indeed being made. But the evidence suggests, the experts believe, that they're probably still some way off, some years off, perfecting the technology required to be able to strike North America.
So today, lots of talk of punishment. Is war on the horizon, or are sanctions working? What do you think?
Well, I think sanctions have been much in the news recently. After the last North Korean nuclear test earlier in the year, the UN Security Council imposed a really quite harsh suite of sanctions. And there's anecdotal evidence to suggest that people in North Korea, people in Pyongyang, perhaps those around the leadership, are beginning to get a little bit worried about the impact of those sanctions. There's been a string of defections over the last few weeks and months of people really quite high up in the system. And that might suggest they're worried about their own future. But we have to accept that sanctions do not work overnight, and they are a long-term tool.
Well, a lot to watch for here. David Slynn, thank you very much for your viewpoint tonight.
You're welcome.